Hey, it's Les, and this is Comfortable Shoes Studio and another episode of Art Making. This is a chat while I draw episode. In this video, I decided to take a walk. I'm outside in a warm spring day sketching vehicles. This is a goal that I have to get better at sketching vehicles as part of my urban sketching. Um, and in this section, I am drawing a beat up old Buick. And in the later section, I am sketching a backhoe. And I keep it really simple in these sketches with fountain pens, with fude nibs, and two colors of ink. I'm using a dusky blue color that I have mixed myself. The base is Organic Studio. I think it's Sargasso Sea, and I added some other colors to it to make it flow a little better and not be so dry. The other color that I'm using is Rohrer and Klinger Latte. It's their sketching ink. It is waterproof. It's also in a fude nib. Because everyone asks, both pens are Jinhao pens. Um, Neither one of them came with the fude nibs on it. I ordered a 5 pack of fude nibs from AliExpress. You can also get them on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. And just swapped the nibs out as soon as they arrived. I tuned the nibs a little bit with a nail polishing file so that they skate really smoothly over every paper that I use. So really simple swap just to make these pens really work for me. So for the chat while I draw portion of this, I kind of wanted to talk about the serendipity of meaning synchronizing over the course of listening to several different podcasts. So let me give you a little background here. Um, I used to listen to a lot of podcasts. I used to be a podcaster. I guess I can say I'm a former podcaster. And I pretty much gave up listening to podcasts over work from home during the pandemic. My primary mode of listening to podcasts was in the car on my way to work, sort of a way to get ready for the day and also disengage from the day. Um, I would listen to my favorite shows on my way home, and it was just a really great way to kind of switch my brain off from work mode. So I didn't have a reason to listen to podcasts when I was at work from home. It didn't seem to make sense for my day back then. And so I gave up listening to a lot of podcasts. I unsubscribed from a lot of podcasts because they would build up and build up and build up. Everyone was still podcasting throughout the pandemic, throughout work from home. And every time I'd open my podcast app to listen to the one or two shows, I just felt overwhelmed with the number of podcasts that were popping up in my feed. And then I felt guilty that I wasn't listening to the podcasts anymore. So I just unsubscribed. But there were a few that I continued to subscribe to, and one of those was Erasable. I was just on Erasable, and that's what brings this sort of topic up. Um, I'll put a link to Erasable, and you can listen to my section of the episode, or the episode itself. And I think I think the interesting thing about this is now that I have a commute again, my commute is not long. It's usually 30 minutes, maybe 45 on a bad construction day or traffic accident or something like that. Um, and so I'm listening to podcasts again, but I'm listening to new and different podcasts. And most of these podcasts have hundreds of episodes. So I'm doing what I do with TV and everything else. I'm binging on these shows. And that just really works for me and my brain space. It works. So the thing that I want to talk about is how as I'm binging on these shows, for whatever reason, there's a lot of overlapping in meaning. Now, this happens a lot on, I notice, YouTube, where I watch one video and then YouTube just feeds me a bunch of other episodes or other videos that have similar content and meaning. But with a podcast, because the AI and the algorithm isn't controlling it, I am. It's often, it feels different when the meaning overlaps for these things. It feels a lot more like serendipity, and when the meanings of these shows synchronize, it feels a little different. It just hits different. And so I had a couple of episodes or different shows that had similar meanings, and one of those meanings was the power of words, especially when those words or the power of them is unintended. And this really made me think a lot. Maybe I was personalizing this a little bit because I had just literally just recorded an episode where I said something very similar to what the show host was talking about. And it just really made me think. And I think that's the part of podcasts that I really like, is that they have a tendency to overlap with my thinking, or maybe I'm just inferring meaning um, to the podcast. Um, so I talk a lot about vibes, not realism on this channel, especially when I'm drawing from life. I talk a lot about process over product. And, I know in my headspace and personally that product does matter. It doesn't matter in my art journal, but product does matter when I'm making art. And I think that's a kind of difficult thing for many folks to kind of differentiate the difference between what I do in my art journal versus what I do when I'm making art. For me, it's two separate processes. And I know for many people that the art journal is their product, and thus the process is still really what matters. Um, and I am kind of think about though I'm going back to the words here, the power of my words. I think the difficult thing is that I always record these episodes and I record what I'm saying under, I think, an understanding for me that this is about me and my process, and you might take something from my process and it might have meaning for you. I'm not meaning everything that I say as an absolute. I think that there are no absolutes in art. I think when it comes to art, anything goes. And, you know, if the product is really important to you and the process isn't, well, that's up to you. That's your meaning. And anytime I talk about things being boring or less interesting, I always mean it as boring or less interesting specifically to me. And I think I think that sort of meaning gets lost in the shuffle because as human beings, I do this myself. We personalize things. We make things be we infer meaning, or we infer that someone is talking specifically about us. And I think that's just something that we do as human beings. And that's, I'm not saying that's good or bad or anything. I'm just saying that this is a thing that we naturally do. And I was doing it with this podcast. I was like, oh my God, these podcasters are they're all talking about me. And I think part of the reason like I felt that is because I literally just been talking about what they were talking about. And when I looked at the dates on these shows, the shows had been recorded 2, 3, and in one case 4 years previous. So certainly they were not about me and what I had just said. And it really gave me some perspective on like how much I infer meaning. And I think I think that's an interesting kind of place to be in where I'm listening to this show thinking in part, oh, this is totally about me, and realizing, oh, it's not about me at all. It's not about me. And it just gave me a moment in my head of like, wow, like this is like a human thing that I just did. And it just was kind of, it was one of those like mind blowing moments, like, um, I did a thing and it's not about me. It's not all about me. And that I find that fascinating just as a human human moment. And yeah, I thought I'd share it with you in this chat while I draw. And I wonder how many of you do something similar. Like you listen to a show, you listen to one of these chat while I draws, and you think, oh man, she's totally talking about me. And one of the things that I've realized through life and being in therapy and being a therapist is that as human beings, we're fully consumed with our own business, our own stuff. Um, and many of us just have our heads firmly shoved in our own behinds, and we're not as concerned with the people around us as the people around us really think. Certainly, I'm way more concerned with myself than I am about the people around me. I'm not as concerned with them as they think I am. I'm not judging them in the way they might think I am. And certainly, I can relay that out and say they are not thinking about me in the way that I am judging myself. Anyway, with that, I thank you for being here. Thanks for the support, the subscriptions, the thumbs ups, the likes, the comments. I appreciate it all. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.